Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. I do apologize for not having an ATC last week. I am still positive with coronavirus. So is my wife, but we're both doing fine. You may hear it in my throat a little bit. I've been coughing a little bit still today, so I haven't been able to do as much as I'd like to do. And to be honest, since I haven't been to work in like 2 weeks because of this, I forgot what day it was. So we started trying to come up with a topic, and I discussed something with my stream this morning, and we're starting the podcast really early. It's 8:23 in the morning, but we got into this really, I guess, sort of deep topic, but definitely polarizing and interesting to discuss. Is I was watching a video of Asmongold reacting to a update from Ashes of Creation, right? And I want to start out here is we're going to make some comparisons to traditional MMORPGs and Star Citizen. Those aren't necessarily fair comparisons, but I'm going to come at it from this perspective. There are some elements of traditional MMORPGs that I find incredibly fun, and I think we can find a place for them in Star Citizen. Okay? But more in particular, the thing that was pointed out here is a viewer in his chat said, this update is stupid, it's all visuals. And it made me laugh a little bit because if you just watched last week's ISC, it was literally concept art of what a derelict might look like, not the improvements of how derelicts will be better in the future, how they will matter, why you would want to go to them, all those things. What is the gameplay of a derelict? What is the purpose behind it? Why would we go there? Does finding derelict wrecks add to and change the way the current system, star system that you're in, look like? Things like that, right? Asmon then stopped and responded to that viewer and said the difference between Ashes of Creation and a lot of other MMOs that he plays, like WoW and New World and things like that, are the systems. And in his opinion, they have the systems down. And that's when I went like, first off, what does he mean by systems? And, you know, I talked to a former game designer at CIG, he was here in the chat, about what a system is, because I'm not a game developer, I don't know. So things like inventory and looting and things like that are systems. Medical gameplay is a system, things like that. But when Asmon mentions systems, I think he's talking about like raids, bosses, open world bosses, their node system in Ashes of Creation. So as you do things in an area, the node or like a city will grow, something like that. Those are the systems that he's talking about. Those are the things that he finds cool. Okay? But how I'm looking at it is in a similar way of how Asmon looks at it. And it's in the sense of, what's my purpose in the game? When I log in, what do you do and why? Now, Star Citizen is a sandbox. It is not an MMO RPG. There's no skills. There's no skill level where like, oh, you can unlock this dungeon at this skill level. That doesn't exist, right? That's stupid in the Star Citizen scape of things. But I've played sandbox MMOs that, you know, they have skill levels too, but the like Albion Online has the systems down. There's a reason to mine and refine your ore and break rocks or chop wood or go to a certain dungeon. There's purposes behind it. Everything makes sense in the grand scheme of things. And I think the issue here with Star Citizen is we're in year 10, and the only person who knows the clear vision of Star Citizen, as far as we know, is Chris Roberts. What are the systems? What are we going to do? Why are we going to do certain things? Now, again, I mentioned Star Citizen is a sandbox. You can make the fun however you want. I'm not judging you for wanting to take screenshots or wanting to quote unquote explore these empty moons that have nothing in them. If that's what you find fun, good for you. I don't happen to find those things fun. I need a little bit more purpose-driven gameplay. That's me personally. But in reality, I think everybody kind of does, and then they find their place in what the Star Citizen universe may be. The only thing we know about the Star Citizen universe at the moment, really, is that it looks cool. And I think we all want to play in it. But what do we do? So this is going to be a bit of a long intro. I'm going to try and cut it as short as possible right now. Reputation is important for things like this. What are they going to do with that? Why don't we know exactly what's going to happen? We hear a lot about what could be possible, but not what exact sort of plans are. And I know why, because we still are quite a ways from Star Citizen. Let's stop there for a second. I understand the game is in an alpha state. It is also a live service. It's a combination of the two. The experience on the live servers does need to be an experience. It doesn't need to just be a technical alpha because it isn't. There's more to it than just the technical side of trying to get server meshing in, trying to get persistence in, all of those things. A lot of these games, these gameplay systems probably need those things, and that is okay. How does owning a location work? How does, you buy property? What do you do with it and why? These are things that aren't clearly shared with the backer. I'm okay with some of this stuff being on paper, but it's not even on paper right now. It is in thin air. And the vagueness of Star Citizen is what creates the uncertainty and what creates the negativity around the project, is the uncertainty of what it even is. And I'll kind of leave it there. We have a few callers here. That is what I take issue with, and that's what it's a very broad question. What is the gameplay? What do we do? I said it before we started. This is not a bash on Star Citizen session today. That's not what it's going to be. I think we need, for me personally, I need to express that this is a very unorthodox way of doing things. This is a thing that creates uncomfortableness about the game, and it's more of a just general, for me, feedback of what I think is wrong with the communication between the company and the backers. We're in year 10, and I don't think anyone can answer the question that's below me right now. Because, and they're all going to try. Everybody that's in the queue is probably going to try. But they're just going to be guessing. And that's the problem. All right. So let's bring in our first caller. His name is Just Chegg. He told me to rein him in because he can go on forever on the subject. So Just Chegg, welcome. How you doing? I have the wrong name up there. It's been a while.
Yep.
There we go.
Can you hear me properly and all that?
You sound loud and clear, sir. Loud and clear.
Nice. Well, first of all, thank you for having me.
Of course.
And thank you for having this discussion. I think it's really important. And before we start even talking about this, I just want to clarify, because I had issues with this previously when I talked publicly with some people, is I love Star Citizen. Backer, just as you are, I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here and there, right? Because we want to see both sides if we can. But yeah, in no way I want to bash the game or anything like that. I want this to succeed, obviously, and I want all of us to play and enjoy Star Citizen the way we hope we are going to, which is another question as well, right?
Yeah.
But well, I will just agree with what you said at the beginning, where I think the biggest issue for us who have been following the project for a while is the fact that we really don't know what the idea even is. And you said that Chris Roberts probably is the only person that has the idea, and I don't even maybe I don't
Yeah.
know if he has the idea either, right?
Because it does. The
I think
idea
he
does
has
seem to change at times, right? Which makes you
exactly,
feel.
yeah.
But that's also okay. Like
It's fine, yeah.
as silly as this may sound in comparison levels, like I've run an eco server before. You have to design laws, which is literally like coding gameplay into it, and it is there. You try something, it doesn't work, and you try a different thing, right? So having an idea is one thing, but seeing how the players actually interact with it makes you change
That's
that
gonna change
idea at
everything, right?
times, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a thing, and that's one of the things that the developers at Star Citizen tout as its advantage is that instead of just having the idea and then developing it in the dark, they get to have the idea, throw it to us, and we get to give feedback on it, and then they can move forward. I think part of the problem is they don't tend to move forward with that feedback very often, and I think it
I think
contributes.
the problem is before that.
I think it could be, but it also contributes to the what are we doing here kind of scenario as well.
If they told us what the idea is, and then we could react to it, especially content creators like you, for example, where we know they're listening to, then they could have a feedback and iterate on that. Or if they would implement their idea of the game, and we can try and playing it, and then they can see, goods and bads of it and our reaction to it. But we don't really know. There's so many core systems that we don't know yet. Which is literally what started this. Like, we can have an idea about what gameplay loops, which also I think when Asmongold talks about what you were explaining at the beginning, he's not a game dev either. I think neither am I, but I think he actually talks about potential gameplay loops.
Yeah, not
that the game
gameplay
will have,
systems
basically.
In the true definition of how it was
whatever
explained.
like he named it, as he's streaming and talking about it, as a, but yeah, I would really like to know more about these things. For now, some of us have been playing games, both Sandbox and Theme Park games, for like our entire lives, basically.
Yeah.
And based on that, we can have ideas. And my first point here is, just like you, I want to know what their idea is. But while I was listening to you and making my notes, I came to a conclusion also that maybe they on purpose don't want to tell you what it is, because while
that is exactly what's
imagine,
going on.
Right? While we are imagining, we still like what potentially might be. Once they tell us this is how it's going to be, you might have like 50% fall off, right? Because I keep telling people who are playing Star Citizen, like, okay, you have to, and I'm like this as well. Like, I am buying into my idea of Star Citizen, but I'm 100% okay with not liking the game when it comes out. It's okay, because it's not my game, right? And
it's the risk you took. You should know that risk going in. That's why when people come to my channel and ask, should I buy Star Citizen, I typically say no, because they're usually looking for something that is similar to every other game they've played. Yeah. But
they're looking for your idea explanation then. Yeah.
And I was gonna jump in on exactly what you said before you said it. Was they used to give us design documents. Remember the mining design document? There was the fuel document. There was a few documents that came out, and they openly, I think it was I can't remember who it was. No. Come to me. I don't want to. Brian Chambers. There we go. Brian Chambers said, I almost remember it like word for word, is they just didn't want to put out these design documents for things that are still like in flux and still are in discussion. And I get that. But is it fair?
It's been a while, though.
It's been a while, but just in general, is it fair to the backer to be left in the dark on
I don't think
design documents for your game? that's like the real kind of question that I'm saying here is they are very reactive to our negativity about something when they put it in the game. I think it stopped with the design document about fuel because people were not cool with the idea that single-seater ships could not refuel their hydrogen.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the big picture of, well, refueling and all these other things, and you could go here, you could do this. And, like, the current implementation of it is, like, kind of okay, right? You go to an outpost, you refuel. It's not... It feels appropriate to me, at least.
It lacks... Yeah, exactly. But it's a good...
It lacks depth, but it's
foundation
there.
for it. Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's why they
just
stopped. But, yeah. But, like, is that okay?
I don't, as a backer, I don't think so. From their perspective, maybe. And then when we talk about like how people did not like certain things, let's not forget that it's always, the loud part of player base is the ones that doesn't like something, while the other part that enjoys it is usually just playing the game. Because usually we complain loudly, but we're not like going around and yelling, "Oh, this pizza is so awesome, everyone should buy it," right? Just like in general. Okay, but to kind of go on, so what I think is really important, and we talked about this with you before the show a little bit, is Sandbox versus Theme Park, which I'm going to be just short. Like, Theme Park are games that hold your hand and they take you around, and then there's something like usually vertical progression, like World of Warcraft.
This is a level 5 dungeon. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the end, right? There's a finite amount of content. You're done with your level 60 raid. You're done. You can play around, but you're done, and you're waiting for the expansion for next 10 levels, gear, whatever, right? Now, there's nothing wrong with this, right? But it's just super different from traditional sandbox MMOs. Now, I think a lot of people, this is my opinion, of course, and I could be wrong, but a lot of people say that Star Citizen right now is a sandbox, and that's like a wall, like a shield behind. A lot of people can like stand behind it, like protect Star Citizen, like it needs.
It's an alpha. It's a sandbox. I just want to fly around and have fun. I've seen those 3 comments a lot today. And that's exactly what they are. You're just using them as shields to protect yourself from any negativity about what it is. And in reality, there's some things just aren't right and aren't okay about the current project, the way it's communicated, the things that are on your client that you're playing right now. There's just some things that aren't okay. It's not the end of the world. I'm not freaking out.
No, it's a process, of course, right?
But, like, some things aren't
Here's
cool,
the thing.
man.
Like, to me, and like, if we take into consideration that is in development still, but to me, Star Citizen is like this huge box where sand is still not in. There's some tools, to like make castle in it, but you don't have sand yet. Like, it's missing. It's not... Sandbox is not there yet.
I've described it as a sandbox, but there's only like 1 or 2 sides, and they haven't put this. They haven't put this, like, because they still need server meshing. They still need persistence. Yeah. They still need a few things.
And the idea, like the clear vision for us, right? So when you mix all of that together, you potentially might have a great sandbox, and I'm hoping for that, right? And I'm gonna mention 3 here, which are EVE Online, Albion, that you played, and Foxhole. These are games that I played that are sandbox. I am more a fan of a sandbox. I still play theme parks, but I'm more of a fan of a sandbox.
Okay.
And I would say Foxhole is probably most similar to what I think we'll have in Star Citizen, with a little bit of EVE Online systems. And I'll tell you something here. So Foxhole, basically, you don't have leveling, you don't have skills. There's nothing.
You need, I think, at least for me, I've never heard of Foxhole until about a week ago. So if you don't mind sharing with the audience what Foxhole is. I think most people know what EVE is, but people may not know what Foxhole is.
Yeah, I'll explain like quickly. Foxhole is a war between 2 sides, blue and green. looks like between two wars, World War II, World War One, but it's not like real. Like the sides are imagined, so let's call them blue, and they have names.
Yeah.
Wardens and they're wardens and collies, doesn't matter, and they fight in a war. Everything in that game, just like in Eve, is produced by players. So someone has to mine in order for that to be brought to a refinery, then refined, turned into guns or bullets or vehicles, respawn shirts, everything. And then you have logistics where people have to deliver that. So someone has to take a truck, load it up with certain things and deliver it to the battlefield, where some other players are just playing medics or, infantry or tanks or whatever they want to play. So full on sandbox. However, even this very basic sandbox gives you a reason to play, which is what you were talking about. Like, you want to help your side win a war. And even if you're just mining scrap, you still feel like you're part of some higher goal that needs to be achieved.
Now my question, this is why I don't,
Mm-hmm.
I think the comparison to Foxhole is inappropriate. And here's why, is there's a very clear goal for either side, right? But I think you're making the comparison of you can choose your role. But why I think that doesn't work for Star Citizen is, even with everything we're saying, I don't see the clear choice of a role. Right? So like you're gonna go in, and one day you might want to go mining, and another day you might want to bounty hunt, and you have the option to do both. Whereas in a game like Foxhole, you have your role and you kind of stick to it, and there's a purpose behind it. Well, you don't have to, but no, hold on.
Literally, like in one
get
session.
it though.
Okay,
I get it. But when you play the game, you're playing the game in a role. Like whatever you choose to do, you're doing it because there's a clear purpose behind it. Where Star Citizen doesn't, even if they gave us all of the design documents, I don't see there being a clear and common goal that everybody's trying to achieve.
Sure. Well, that's more like Eve. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think even in Foxhole, it's more like how you are in Star Citizen potentially. Also, Foxhole, the war lasts from, I don't know, like 4 or 5 days to maybe like 2-3 months real time, and then the war is over, and then the new one starts with different map, and everything starts from scratch. So you don't live in that universe either. But what I want to say, like, you can, like, let's say I'm a medic today. I'm gonna start at the beginning of the map, get some scrap, refine it into something, make a truck, sit in a truck, go to the battlefield, leave that there, give someone that truck, and go and be a medic. So I can do like literally several loops whenever I want to, because I'm just a dude in this area, and my personal skill will determine if I'm gonna, kill someone or heal someone or whatever, like, or crash my truck or whatever. So there's no like the base of the game is somewhat like Star Citizen, where you don't have any skills or anything. Yeah, exactly. Now, the Eve we talked about. Like, if you have any questions about it, by the way, I can try and explain. Eve has skills that unlock. Like, if you don't have certain skills, you cannot fly certain ships, and not only that, but you also cannot use certain modules. Let's say, so if you don't know how to use drones, you can't use drones. If you don't know how to use drones level 5, but only level 2, you can't use drones higher than whatever level you know how to use, right? And these skills are being learned through, like, you buy books, and they like Mortal Online, like they keep ticking while you're not playing and whatnot. So basically, over the time, you're investing in your character, and your character is more capable of using multiple tools, let's say.
Okay, now, but get to the point, because I think everybody knows. And everybody that has bought into Star Citizen knows that's not a thing. So that has been communicated very well. True. That there are no skills. So what's the point?
Exactly. One thing that Eve has that I hope, because you were saying reputation might be something they use to kind of gatekeep people who have all these ships and everything. Because how else are we going to do? This is unfortunate. We don't know this because we all have to like think about it. One thing that Eve does is for certain missions, there are gates, and you can't go through the gate unless you have ships that are capable of going through the gate. So they're basically allowing certain content to be done only in certain ships. And the way I saw this in Star Citizen is, but this is like just my vision of it, right? Obviously, it doesn't have to be true or anything. I think potentially some of the content that we might have in future is, let's say you have an Idris, and Idris is your org's weekend, quote unquote, raid ship where you need to have your crew, and then you go to a certain mission that you hardly can do with anything else of than size of an Idris ship or big, like raid in regular MMO, where and then your goal is to get to Idris and refit and get, I don't know, ammo, whatever, whatever you need with like over the week, for example, so that you have a reason to get prepared for something that comes at the end of the week, let's say. You know what I mean? Like, I think Star Citizen needs to be playable by single player and enjoyable, because if you don't have that, you don't have the game. If everything's about multiplayer, people just don't, you're working, you come back home, you have an hour today, so you're going to go grind something or do a bounty, whatever. Yeah. But then you have weekend, I'm just taking that as an example, depending of the clan or whatever. And then you guys get together and go and do your mining operation, right? So maybe something like that, where potentially you can, but again, this is all imagined. Like maybe you guys can, as mining operation, maybe you can get to a certain, I don't know, moon that you have to or a base that you have to take, where only in that place you can produce certain material with which potentially what you can sell, and then they can be made into something else. I don't know. But I hope they're going to add some kind of gatekeeping like that to keep us entertained, to give us a reason to play.
Yeah. The obviously, examples you give are just your opinions and don't of course, it's just like
imagination.
In yeah. It's the idea of that gatekeeping kind of does need to be a thing.
And then there's another thing that Star Citizen has and is really good, is there's this like dream of living in space, right? And flying spaceships, which it does pretty well already. And then if you combine these two, I think that's potentially good product in future. So it can be Sandbox because you're not being told, oh, you have to do this and this and this in order to do that, and then you can find your own way. And that's where the Sandbox is. I can do whatever I want to achieve my goal, but goals need to exist. If we don't have goals, you're not having fun playing the game, except for like there's always certain part of player base for sure that just enjoys, as you said, like flying around, whatever, and that's great. There's good absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? Yeah. But I think if you want longevity in a game and in an MMO, I think you need something like that. Exactly.
And the person who wants to just fly around and do whatever, there being goals in the game doesn't negatively affect that player.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So Star Citizen is intended to be an MMO, a big game that a lot of people would be interested in. So it has to appeal to more than one type of person. Right.
Yeah. To more groups of people, different groups of people. And and I think that's what it vaguely promises. Because we have these imaginations, like someone wants to be an explorer, you want to have them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a mining org, or some people just want to pew in space and raid ships or whatever. Like there's definitely, and I think that's what keeps it alive, by the way. And I think we go back to the beginning where why they don't want to tell us exactly what they're doing, because then you've lost your imagination. Like it's gone. Now you know what it is, and you either like it or don't, which is a little bit
that's
sketchy,
what
kind of. But...
that's what makes the project seem sketchy.
I agree.
Those elements. Like there's times where I'm like, yo, there's no chance. Like, this is I don't believe at all that this is a scam in any way. Like, it's whenever I say that, it's just like a meme when I say those things. But at the same time, they do things that make it difficult to believe that 100%, you know? Like the why you aren't sharing any of your vision with the players on what they would be doing on a day-to-day basis and why they might be doing it. Just the what we might be doing and why we might be doing it. Like, I think
there needs to be something above. Yeah.
Like, I don't want to sit here and say, I'm an investor, I gave you money, you are required to tell me these things. But to some extent...
They're not required. It would be nice if they did, right? You would feel better.
To some extent, I do feel that is my, like, right in this case, is the communication about the game. Not about how you are developing the project. That's where they twisted things and went, we're going to make basically a documentary of how game development works. And by the way, do it completely backwards from every other company. But the idea of like, why aren't you communicating what I'm going to be playing is the part that I have a really hard time with. They always talk about what they could do, but not definitively what they would want us to do. They don't make decisions. They just flow.
And I don't think it's a fear of like changing things on the go, maybe, but like you have to try in order to know if it works or not and then change it, right? Like I think whoever is not okay with things being changed on the go is probably not supposed to back, early access project like this, because that's just the nature of the beast, right? So, I don't know. I kind of, I don't know.
Dude, there's still so many comments that we can't get through. People, like, I'd rather a Sandbox game not want us to do anything. Okay, then you don't have to do anything. Like that. Like, what don't you get about that part? A Sandbox would allow you to just do whatever you want, but then there's also the elements of, if you want to do these things, you can. Right? Like, that's the disconnect that people are having here with the Sandbox shield that people are putting in front of themselves. That doesn't mean that you can just do whatever you want. Albion is 100% a Sandbox game. Every item is created by the players, but there are clear goals of building up your island and making it better, or if you want to, or going out and PvPing, or being in a big guild and owning a lot of territory and being a big crafter or something like that in a guild. There's all these goals that if you would like to achieve them, you can. And that's what makes it a Sandbox, is the choice. Star Citizen talks about choice all the time, but I have no idea what I'm choosing right now. Nobody does.
Exactly. There's no goal. And Sandbox, like the best Sandbox games ever made, are so good, and I almost want to say like smart at sneaking a goal where you don't feel pushed to do it, but you do some things because you think you want to do it, but in reality they give you an incentive to do something, and that's why you do it, and then you feel good when you accomplish something. If you have nothing, it's just not gonna work. I mean, it will work for some people, but it will not be sustainable. Like, they want to make money on this.
Somebody just described Star Citizen to farm sim. Like, this is the problem. This is the problem.
It's not supposed to be only a farm sim.
Yeah, this is the problem, is that communication of what Star Citizen is so bad that somebody just compared Star Citizen to Farming Simulator 2022. That's how bad this is. That's the problem.
It is a problem. I 100% agree.
Now, having that choice of playing it like Farm Sim is perfectly not fine. The problem. Right?
Yeah.
But it's not only
that's where the
that.
Sandbox is. It gives you multiple choices to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But there's a reason for everything.
Yes,
and
I agree.
There's no reason for anything.
I wish it was as good as Farm Sim, right? But like that's the thing, is it's not only that. It's the choice. If you want to play it that way, you can, right? That's that's the difference here. That's the conversation that I'm trying to have with people. Is Star Citizen isn't one thing and it isn't another, but one thing that it is poorly communicated what to do, what you could do, what you would be doing. And again, this is not in the current state. This is what we would be doing post what might be described as launch. Yeah.
Exactly.
If you're buying something, you should have a somewhat vague or somewhat clear understanding of what you would be doing. But what we have is a completely clouded and entirely unclear view of what the game is.
Last time I talked about this with someone else, I came to some scary idea that I'm going to share with you, and just to have it out there for you to think about it, maybe your community. And I hope that I'm 100% wrong about this. But it crossed my mind that we all know that Squadron 42 is their main project, and then it's going to have sequels, right? And we talked about this like very long, like 3-4 hours. And it came to me that I'm scared that potentially there's a possibility that Star Citizen, as it is a testing ground for Squadron 42. And once Squadron 42 is out, they bail on SC, which would break my heart. And then we talked about it, all of us backers and only there for Star Citizen. We don't care about single player games. And we came to a conclusion like, I cannot say it's not impossible, which scares me a lot. So yeah, hopefully not, because they designed so many ships that probably have nothing to do with Squadron. I'm hoping. We don't know, right? We don't know these things, but I wouldn't think. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but.
Yeah, I won't touch on that one. I think it's a little out there.
It is. It's almost like tinfoil hat. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think we've hit the point of now we're getting tinfoil hatty. So I would say
true.
If you have something else that you want to
can I
like
can
in
I,
your notes or whatever
before
you leave? Yeah, exactly. I just
have
lost my
one
train
more
of
thing,
thought.
but
Sorry.
But if I can sneak it in, it's very short. It's like cry for help from CIG because they listened to this podcast. It's very friendly, I promise.
They don't.
Oh, well, come on.
There's maybe one community manager does.
I know.
And if they do, I don't think anything we talk about gets. If it does go up in any sort of feedback chain, it dies at some point there. But feel free to.
Okay, it's very short. It's something that would help.
Try.
I'm very concerned about new player experience. I wish it was better. And what I don't understand is like current state of Mustang Alpha and Aurora is really not as good as we would want to. Mm-hmm. But there's a little ship that is really good. That is Pisces for starter player. And I wonder, we have this system in the game already. I wonder why would Pisces not be a loaner for these two ships when a new player buys it? Because we had like when you bought Mustang, you would get the loaner Aurora. And I just wonder, like, if you have Pisces, you can do anything in the game, like a starter loop. And I just wish someone thinks about this and does a good one for a new player. That's all. Hi, Lola.
Mm-hmm. She says,
anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. Good luck. That had nothing to do with the topic at all.
I know. Yeah, of course.
So
thank you so much for having me. And yeah. This week is just different when ATC is not around. So thank you so much for what you do for the community, man. Thank you for giving the platform to others.
I appreciate that. Anytime. Talk to you soon, Chegg. That was really good. I really appreciated the convo.
Same.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
All right, our next caller is Tiz. Tiz is it's been a while, but he is a ATC podcast veteran, I would say. How you doing?
Hey man, I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. So we did talk a while with Chegg, but I hope you have some more to bring to the conversation. But also, I think part of talking to Chegg for so long is to try to make it very clear what the point of this topic is, and what the exact direction of the conversation it really is trying to be is, you know, CIG communicates very poorly on a lot of things, but the thing they communicate the poorest on is what Star Citizen even is. They've made what Star Citizen is videos. We have community managers calling it a universe sim in huge Linus Tech Tips videos, and the vision's always changing. It's it's weird. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not.
You have the floor.
Yeah,
I don't know where you want to go.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have that much more to say. Certainly not as much as the previous caller. I think, for me, at least, how it looks is that they didn't say anything about it, and they have good reason not to. And guessing where they're gonna go is kind of pointless. The only thing CR or any of the like high level Star Citizen people usually say is you can be anything, right? You can do anything. It's a sandbox, and that works good for them because everybody can make their own or imagine their own version of the game, and they raise a lot more money that way. I think. I mean, it's nothing I can prove or anything, but it should make sense. To, of course, realize the vision of CR, which in my mind is Quadrant and not primarily Star Citizen. So I'm not sure he has any incentive to clarify what we're going to do exactly, at this point at least. And if I'm assuming this, then I really think it's hard to watch in chat or on the forums people going at each other, telling each other their version of the end game or their version of SE is wrong and SE should be this and SE should be that. And that's really I don't really have anything to say about what is the gameplay because there is none, but I really would like to stress that I'm not sure what you're trying to achieve by. I mean, of course, I understand where it's coming from. You're trying to force your version of the game.
No,
or you're trying to.
That's not it at all. I'm not trying to force my version of the game at all.
No, not you. You as a person, like you in the general, you the guys that are fighting on the forums with their version of SC. You know.
Okay. Yeah,
I didn't
the
mean
general.
You,
yeah, but the general point of the discussion is they need. Now I know it works for them, and they're not going to say anything, but at some point they have to, and or this is just going to go on forever. And you may be of the idea that that's the plan, and you know what? Sometimes it feels like that's the plan. But if nobody just goes and starts yelling and says, "Hey, this is bullshit," then nothing ever changes. If everybody just sits there and allows there to be no plan and just allow things to just flow forever and to be I don't want to create my own vision for the game. I want to be told what the vision of the game is so I can decide whether or not I want to play it. Every other game does that. You have an idea of, at least a general idea of what is the point of the game. And I get that this is big and there's a lot of things, but that's all I'm trying to communicate out of this is a very interesting thing that maybe more people need to be made aware of that's going on, is they are not communicating at all. And you actually have no idea. Not a single person here, and whatever your vision is, and I think you're sharing that, Tiz, is it's pointless because your vision isn't their vision, and the only vision that matters is theirs. And they're keeping their vision locked for whatever reason, you know? And it's it doesn't need to be super detailed and super clear. but just some general direction is, I think at this point, year 10, they're starting to get the ball rolling on what gameplay elements. They, like I said, they did looting, they did medical, they did inventories, they're doing selling, they're going into refueling. There's a lot of gameplay systems that are starting to happen. And with that, I think the communication of what the purpose of them are is sort of where we need to get going back. We just need to get to that. And I think it's impossible to give feedback on systems in the game when you don't know the vision and the point of them. You can only communicate, was the action that I was taking part in fun? But in reality, a big part of giving feedback is understanding the point of why you're doing something in the first place. So it kind of contradicts the point. Like, even anybody who says Star Citizen is an alpha, why are we having this conversation? That's exactly why we're having this conversation. Is how do you provide feedback on the alpha when you don't know what the alpha is? That's why I'm saying what I'm saying. Is like,
no, I
we're trying
agree, and
to
I think
improve
it's
the
an
game.
important, it's an important question. But it's like
Our purpose as backers
as
is to improve the experience. If you don't know what the experience is, how do you give feedback to improve it?
Yeah, and it's also very telling that all the systems or features that they release are very basic features that still leave it completely open where you're going to go, right? I mean,
Sure.
like, healing is not going to tell you what you're going to be doing and what's your end goal or motivation to go against
Be a
anything.
medic or whatever. Yeah.
And
the only one that's like deeper is mining, and it does not ensue confidence at all in me, because the mining design, I think, is so far getting worse rather than getting better.
Yeah. Maybe just one, like the last thing I'm gonna say, to maybe get the balance back, is to say something about Foxhole, the way the previous caller described it.
Okay.
And I think that, like, from a Sandbox point of view, I'm really curious, and I don't know how it's gonna work with all the NPCs in the verse, right? When not everything is like in Albion or Foxhole created by the player, but you have a huge NPC population. So I'm very curious how they're gonna manage to get around that as well.
Yeah.
So it's not even that you have to say, oh, thank God it's not a theme park and I'm not gonna get reset every quarter. It's also, how are they gonna even manage the sandbox with 90% NPCs?
Yeah, just that is one of the weirder things of this. Like, it's actually one of the things that drew me to the game, because I think Sandbox games at times, the player base can affect too much of the game's community negatively, by like dictating prices or having too much control over certain resources, things like that. So that is actually one of the things that drew me to the game, and is one of the clear visions of the game that I actually liked and could get behind. But at the same time, the more I think about it, the more it is a weird idea as well. So I think that one kind of goes both ways.
It's like, a lot of question marks around that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, I think, my 2 cents. Yeah.
Okay, Tiz. Well, thank you for your 2 cents. I appreciate it. And
all right. See ya.
Look forward to talking to you soon. Bye-bye, man.
Bye.
Bye. All right, our next caller is PandaBot. Hello, Panda.
Is my mic okay? Or
Sound good?
okay, perfect. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be giving the usual PvP focus on this because that's the only thing I do.
Sure.
Right. Now the problem is that I currently have is that I actually don't have any motivation to actually play the game. Right. because I thought we are going to talk more about like end game and purpose of the actual gameplay. And for me, currently, there is like none. I don't even play the game that much. I have like exams and stuff. But even when I play games, I don't play Star Citizen.
Can I stop you?
Yeah.
Did you ever Did you ever have an expectation for endgame? And then I'll ask a second question. Is as a PvPer, I think you're in one of the most advantageous states of player in the game because you don't necessarily need a reason to do anything other than find people.
I wouldn't say that's true.
Okay.
But like to the end game thing, yeah, I always like. It's the problem with Star Citizen is most people play it because they like the idea that they have in their head of Star Citizen, right? And I'm the same.
Sure.
Like I at some point in the future want like some kind of org functionalities where we can capture stuff. Doesn't matter if it's a station or anything, just controlled space that we fight over, right? That's the only thing I really want in the game because then I have
your
like
end
purpose.
Game with quotes
yeah, that's the only end game I want. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
literally just have something to fight about.
Sure. But then like the way you initially started it is that there needed to be like a clear end game from like an everyone's standpoint is what you made it sound like to me. That's why I like was trying to
think that's
dig deeper.
I think that's also true. I think we need some kind of end game, right? Because you need progression in games. It doesn't matter what the game is, you always need progression. Like I most of the time the games that I play is PvP focused, like competitive games, right? I play like CSGO, Valorant, RTS games like Age of Empires. And the problem with it is, even though you think there's no progression, there still is. Like it's you have games like that always have like ranked progression, right? There's always a rank and you climb the rank ladder. That's and some people play it for the sake of playing it, and then you can say like, oh yeah, as long as the gameplay is fun, the game is good. But the problem is the games like that, where only the gameplay is fun, there's no progression, people don't play that game for long.
Yeah.
They play it, have fun with it, but there's like no long-term reason to play it, right? That's the problem. Like,
somebody in chat just described Escape from Tarkov. There are rankings.
No, there is progression.
There is progression, but it isn't to any sort of real like end game. Sort of, there kind of is, but that is the reason behind wiping in that game.
I mean, there's a reason why people Tarkov like it. Gets stale after a while. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Because like, before the wipe, no one plays the game anymore. Right?
Exactly.
Because the game gets pretty boring.
Yep.
At some point. Yeah. No, but the thing is, I'm not sure if Star Citizen can really have progression systems because they already fucked the thing with the ships, right? Because you think, oh, ships is going to be the progression of the game, like it is in every other space game. But that train is long gone. We can't do that anymore, right?
No, that train left the station.
The other thing would be like components and stuff, and then I think Kilgore talked about the locking it behind reputation. I think that's a good way of doing it, as long as. Like, I don't like the idea of locking something behind reputation where it's impossible, like it basically makes you impossible to kill, right? Let's say there's like a shield generator and it's like 10,000 times better than the normal one, and you only get it with reputation, and you can just go into every fight and win.
Yeah,
right?
this is what Elite Dangerous does poorly. I think that's like where Elite Dangerous fails, is like you need to engineer things in order to fight certain, like, I think in some cases, like, yes, you need to earn enough money, earn enough reputation, earn whatever in some sort of way to get a better sort of shield, weapon, whatever, to participate in some sort of like maybe an event in the game, whatever, right? But the idea of it being absolutely necessary, like they don't want metas, so I don't think we really have an issue with this subject. They don't want them. There always will be. We know. Yeah. We don't have to go into that subject, but they don't want to create best in slot. Like games are designed like I think World of Warcraft. Like the design is to have best in slot, right? No, I know.
No, but we already have. But even in the game, like how they plan it right now, we have best in slot because we have tiers of components, right?
Yes.
Like we have military and we have
civilian,
and they have the different purposes.
Yeah, so they're not.
But
best
then
in
inside
slot.
stealth, but inside stealth you have A, B, and C tier, and literally like A tier is just better.
But it's the best in slot. stealth component. It's the best in slot
Yeah,
industrial component. It's the best in slot military component, and they all have different purposes, and you make the choice of why you would choose one or the other. So
I think most games have that, right? Like systems like that.
Maybe
like you always have different choices.
Correct me
at
if
least
I'm
in like most PvP games, I know.
Okay, maybe, but correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I'm just describing like World of Warcraft, where you're going for a specific item, right? Like, and that's like the design. This is the best in slot.
Yeah, but the difference
gear.
in World of Warcraft, I would argue, is that you have different classes and then you have different like perfect items. And even in World of Warcraft, you have. But I don't think World of Warcraft gearing is very good in the first place. I like the PvP, but the gearing is not good.
Yeah,
like
but
I would argue something like League of Legends, where you have different items, right? And they have different purposes. And if you fight specific opponents, you take like specific item routes because they're more useful in that regard, like something like that.
Sure.
And I think that's what Star Citizen is going, and I think that's also good.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the same
I think
page
that's
there.
a good progression to have. Yeah. But I really I still want that you lose your items on death, like your components. But that's another story because I think
I agree.
He's giving us some because. I'm a very big fan of like hardcore type of games. Like I like Daisy, I like Tarkov, where you lose stuff on death, right? And death isn't just because actually I don't like the idea of death of a spaceman in Star Citizen with the whole you lose all your reputation and stuff after like 10 deaths or something. I don't think it's a fun mechanic.
Guess what? Like, great topic of today's show. Even though they've kind of expressed what Death of a Spaceman is, it's so fucking vague that you just said 10 deaths or something. They never said that. I
mean, I said like 10 as like multiple deaths, right? That's the point. I just said 10 as some number because I don't remember the number, but the point was that after like a specific amount. Yeah, but the point was that after a specific amount of deaths, you like reset.
Yeah.
Right? That was the idea. Okay, yeah, that's what I just used like a number as some point.
Yeah, but I think you make the point of the podcast is it's still very unclear how that's going to work.
I mean, that's with everything in this game. We don't even like I would argue that PvP is one of the points where we know the most about, and we still don't know anything.
Yep.
Right? They're like, oh, we're gonna do speed changes. And what are the speed changes gonna be? Like, but that's like PvP is another topic. I don't want to get too much on that because that's gonna be a big. I don't want to open that can.
No, I mean, you one thing sort of can, but it just is.
I don't want to. I think there's more important things about this topic that are not that way.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying in the sense of like, what's the point of doing these things, and that's why I think in PvP you fall in the best category is fighting is the point, and you don't necessarily need a point to fight.
Yeah, but then fighting is the point. I would only play Arena Commander, right? Because PU fighting is not very fun. PU fighting is just ganking, right? But I still do PU because I still have the dream of, oh man, this is cool, this expansive universe. No, but one problem I noticed when I was thinking about this was that personal progression doesn't actually matter for me that much.
Yeah.
I don't really care about it because it's a multiplayer game, right? I want some sort of way to progress as an org, right? Because what's the point of orgs if personal progression is the only progression we have, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want like org unlocks, like org components that you can only have if your org is that certain level. Because I played it in other games, and that's one of the most annoying fucking systems I've played. Right? I played like a Chinese game, Myth of Empires, and it was such a grind, and it was so bad. Like the gameplay itself was okay, but like the whole progression system and like you had to unlock this org stuff, and then some orgs were just better outright because they had this specific item that not only those orgs had. Man, I don't like that was a bad system. So like the only thing I see as org progression that is kind of going to be fun in a sandbox MMO is like ownership, right? And that's the only like progression I think that is going to be at least fun for me. Because just unlocking more stuff, then I can just have that in personal progression, right?
Agreed.
I don't see a reason for that.
Like somebody who doesn't want to take part in PvP that much is like what I would envision, and yeah, we're getting a little imaginary here, but the idea of these things needing to exist in the game in our minds is really the only point of the discussion. Is I think a game is good when there's something you can reach for if you want to. And a reach could be owning a station or owning maybe like a town in game or something, or a factory that's in game that can do certain things, but other people would also want to own those things, and there's ways to keep them. And yeah, it kind of I think what Star Citizen could be, and what a lot of people's expectations of it would be, is that whatever systems that they do put in the game, that they could potentially all tie together. And I think that's what something people would like. Somebody like yourself, who is the complete opposite of somebody like me, could end up interacting with each other because of that fact. So
I mean,
maybe
that's exactly
owning
it.
your own refinery deck would probably be a huge advantage to somebody who would want to do a lot of mining, right?
Yeah, because I love PvP because of player interaction, right? And that's like in most of the games that, like when, for example, I play like IL2 campaign things, but it's like a multiplayer PvP campaign where you play like online and everyone has this role. And even like miners in that case, which are like more bombers, are more like minor kind of characters because they don't really interact with other players. In like PvP, they just bomb the shit out of cities, right? And they need like the help of PvPers and that kind of stuff, or like supply planes. And I think, or that's the reason why I like playing DayZ, right? Because you just have interaction with players, and even though they're not the same way like mine that you are, right? They think differently, but you can still have fun with them, and that's why I want like common goals, because if as soon as you own something, people that don't like to PvP can also profit from it, right? If you own like a trading station, people are going to trade there, and like PvPers, even if they own it, they get money from people trading there. And I just like this interconnected stuff. This is like the whole Imagine stuff in Star Citizen. That would be so cool.
Yes,
and I would argue that like when we don't have stuff like that, I would argue that most PvPers will leave the game.
Sure.
Right? Because there's no point for us in the game if we don't have ownership.
Sure.
I think especially what Star Citizen
think that's
fostered as a
just
game,
you,
right? It's open PvP.
I don't think it's just you. I think you're speaking for some PvPers, but I've PvP'd in MMOs before, and just outplaying another player and killing them, and them being mad was enough for me.
I mean, yes, but I would argue that like it depends on the person, right? And I don't think Star Citizen PvP, at least at its current state, and I'm not sure if it's going to get better in the future, is in a very good spot for that kind of gameplay. Because when I want to outplay someone, I want to know it's because of me and not because the server fucked up or some weird thing. It's like the same when it's
let's
just
not have that conversation. That makes no sense in the topic that we're having now. That like where I really want to bring this back to is, let's look at it even from like a development standpoint. Neither of us are game developers, but I think we have general common sense. And general common sense would say, if I was a game developer and I was building the mining system, wouldn't I want to have some idea of what the entire system may look like, even when I'm building out the tier 0 version, right? The tier 0 version has to feed.
They have an idea of it.
They may.
Right.
They may.
No, I'm convinced.
But they don't communicate it with us. But that's also.
Of course not, because we're the community.
But again, it goes back to exactly
sucks.
what I said before, is that there is no way to give feedback if you don't understand the system and the plans for it either. It's not. It's not easy to give good feedback. Then you're just giving like the most basic stuff, and I don't know how helpful that is.
I mean, I work in software development, or like I study it and I work in it, so at least I know some. I don't know game development, but you always have like a rough idea. You don't have like everything planned out to the pinpoint, right? Because it doesn't make sense, because stuff is going to change while you work on it, because you're going to figure out like, oh, this is maybe not the best way to do it, but you have like a rough sketch of it. And I think they have a sketch of how gameplay is going to be, and I don't think we need to give feedback on a rough sketch of an idea, because I don't think they're that stupid to have the rough sketch be stupid, right? I don't think it's going to be like some really weird system.
It's stupid. It's actually stupid, and they actually think that they created multi-crew mining, and they didn't, because it's stupid.
Yeah, I was talking about the greater thing, not that, because I'm talking because that's what we know, that's what we can give feedback on, right? But I think the greater scope is more of a like,
you mean the grand
scope
of the game?
Work? Yeah, I like the grand scope, right? I don't think that every system themselves they have like it perfectly mapped out, but I think the grand scope of like the mining, how you mine is planned out, right? That you mine, you put it into a refinery, and then you can refine it with refinery ships, and then put that and then sell it. I think that was like the grand idea. How the actual systems are done, that's only when they develop it, and developing it is not going to be the long-term thing. I think that's when they developed mining, they started probably a half a year before they released it. They actually started implementing the mining system, right? But before that, they had the idea of how mining will work in the grand scheme. That's what I'm saying. That's like the grand scheme, it's laid down, but I don't think we can really give feedback on that because it's going to be, you mine, you put mining in a refinery, you sell refined materials, that kind of stuff. And I don't think you can really say anything against that, right? How are you going to give feedback on that, right?
I give it right now. What is the point of mining then? If you've already sold spaceships, the feedback that I would give is that is not good. That's not good enough. That's not going to be lasting fun. If the stuff that you mine actually has to tie into the rest of the game in some way, it can't just be a counter for your money going up.
Yeah, but I think they have that planned out already. My wish would be, as I said, that you have like your own certain stuff, and it's basically just fueling the war effort, right? That's what I wish for. But that's probably not what everyone thinks.
Exactly, and
right?
I think
like
that's why
people are just going to like to make money, which is also
Foxhole, right?
Yeah, I mean, I played a lot of Foxhole, and it's very different because it is Sandbox, but it's not at the same time, right? Because you're in your team and you have a specific goal. You have the map is there, right? The only Sandbox thing is how you produce stuff, but that's the only Sandbox thing in there because, and like how you attack, but everything else is pretty set in stone, I think, right? Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't call it that much Sandbox. It's just it's as much Sandbox as Squad is. Just there's more. The production stuff is also made by players, right? Yeah. It's still I would still.
It's just Sandbox that every item is made by the game. By the players in the game.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, but the actual focus, what you do, is not Sandbox.
Agreed.
Right.
That's why I thought his example was.
And that's the difference between Star Citizen. Yeah. I think the same. Like the whole where you grind resources and put it into war. That is the cool part that Star Citizen should do. But then that the actual fights are done by orgs themselves, and we like choose what we actually attack, and like we own certain stuff. But that's where we need ownership. I think it's such an integral part of a multiplayer like space MMO. You need some sort of ownership because otherwise you don't have an end game. The only end game will be progression of your ship, which we don't have. And even if we had that, I don't think that's a really long-term progression because then we're at Elite Dangerous, where the only thing you do is upgrade your ship and farm money, which I don't think Elite Dangerous has end game. The only end game it has is engineering your ship, which is fun for some, I guess,
Yeah.
But not fun for me,
No.
I think that's why we need something like, and I think that most PvPers, and I'm not talking about griefers type PvPers, I'm talking about like that, like even Shadow Moses that have like, I think had a pretty bad image. They're getting better and better, I think, but they had a pretty bad image of being like the griefing org, right?
Yep.
But I don't think they are. They have their own plans. They want to own stuff and fight for it, right? It's not like some specific people that only go out there to kill people and grief them, right? That's why I think most PvPers want to have that kind of gameplay and not just and the small minority that don't are just people that go around PO, camp it all day and shoot people, which I sometimes do, but not, when you get bored.
Yeah, I think the reason that happens more is because the lack of anything to fight over. Because
PvPers don't have gameplay either. The only gameplay we have is bounty hunting, if you think about it. Yeah. That's the only gameplay we have. I mean, we have escort, but that doesn't exist, right? So we have bounty hunting, which is, and we have we have criminal missions and stuff like. But that's also, I mean, it's basically just bounty hunting where you get a CS, right?
Yeah.
There's no difference there.
Yeah.
I think we just have a lack of depth in the gameplay, and I feel like most of the gameplay systems we get is just to make more money instead of actually like being interesting, right? Like everything we get new, like we got mining, it's just I make more money. We get like new missions, it's just I get more money from it, right? Maybe I farm some reputation, but what does the reputation give me? I can make more percentage of the money.
Yeah, right? It doesn't. I
just want to have fun in this game, man. I don't know. I'm just.
Yeah, but I don't think the expectation is that you can have fun now. Like the people who say it's an alpha, like they aren't wrong, right? So like a lot of the things that are not fun now there's a reason why it's not fun, and it's a valid reason why it's not fun. It's just at the same time, not knowing what the future may hold for the thing that isn't that fun right now makes it even more difficult, and that's kind of what I'm talking about today.
Yeah. But they also have a point though that the most fun I had in the game was not actually playing Star Citizen gameplay. It was just fucking around with friends, right? That was the most fun I ever had in the game. It's just fucking around with some friends, doing stupid stuff, enjoying the bugs of the game, and that's for me the only gameplay currently. Because PvP is cool, I can improve, but with how busted the systems are, I don't really like progression in there either. Mm-hmm. So I would argue that the actual only way to really enjoy the game, at least for me, is just fucking around with friends and not actually playing the game that CIG gave us.
Same. I came
Which
to
is the Sandbox part of it.
I came to the same kind of conclusion, is like, I'm just going to make a mining org and we're going to kind of suspend our disbelief a little bit, and we're going to just make our own fun in that way.
Yeah, but if you think about it, the only reason that is because there's no progression in the game, right? Exactly. The only reason why I only like fucking out with friends is because if I do anything else, I don't work towards something. And I'm a stupid gamer. I want to work towards something. I don't want to do my own stuff. I don't want to think. That's what I want to do in my free time, you know? I just want to do random shit.
I don't want to have to organize all these things and make up reasons to do stuff. I would like there to be reasons to do stuff. And the issue with this game in particular is the only reason to do stuff would be to maybe buy ships in game, but you can also buy those ships on the you can also buy those ships on the website. So there's no real value to them that much, because again, we've had this discussion before. I buy my ship in game, this guy buys it on the website. They both look exactly the same, and there's no differentiation between the two. He has a good job. I may have no job, and I just sit at home and do nothing all day but play video games. But there's no value to the grind that you took versus the value that he just injected into the development of the game. I always thought
maybe
they should differentiate the two. Chris agreed, made a post about it, but then never did anything with it in 3 years. And they have a paint system in the game. I'm just saying it's something that like they agreed with. They liked that vision and then did nothing with it, even though they have the tools to be able to do it. Right? Every ship has the tools to, well, not every, but almost every ship has the tool to have a different paint job. So that was my like just easy, clean. You earn this ship in game, you get this different ship, and then you have the prestige. So that is something as small and as simple as something like that.
Then all the people that spent a lot of money would get very pissed that they cannot get that skin.
Oh, sure, they could. They would just have to earn it in game. They would have to buy it in game, and they have the extra advantage of having the better ship to earn the money to do so. Even something as small as that is something that would improve the current experience. But we're off topic now, so yeah.
Yeah, but to that, maybe because I'm younger, I don't really care about that much. I'm just used to that. Because I feel like in most games that I play, there's like skins or something in it, and you don't unlock them anymore by playing well, you unlock them by paying money, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's just like a normal thing. I don't really think about it that much. I don't really care personally if that guy bought the ship with real money or not, right? Because I care about this player's skill personally, like if he's good with the ship or not. Let's say if he buys some OP fighter, I can also buy that OP fighter in-game. So for me, there's no difference between it. I don't really care personally.
Yeah.
Because I don't think grinding money, like just grinding the money for the ship is that much more prestigious than
okay, but I'm just like, that's your opinion, but I'm just saying, yeah, I'm just giving an example of what we're talking about here is reasons to play.
Yeah.
Right.
That's all. I mean, I just want reasons to play. That's the only important.
Yeah. And I just gave a reason for me to play. You maybe don't like it, but that doesn't matter.
No. The thing is, I'm not just a pure PvPer, right? I also do other stuff. So I completely get it, and I would love. The only problem for me with the other gameplay loops is there's no depth in it. So I get bored really fast with mining or like trading or anything, because it's literally just I have my laser on the thing, and I look at a guide how to do it, and then there's no and that's the good thing about PvP for me, is that you as soon as there's a different player in there that is fighting against me, I automatically get depth. Right? Because he's not a computer.
And then,
And I
yeah,
just
that
missed every
experience is
other gameplay
always
loops.
different. That's what was so good about
Yeah.
Jumptown, right? It was the experience was different every time,
I mean,
no matter what, even though
I
it was
sadly
the same.
didn't play Jumpdown, but yeah.
But it's the same concept.
I
It
didn't.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I liked old Jumptown. That shit was fire.
So was new. So was the new one.
Yeah, I saw people have a lot of fun in it. I'm a little bit jealous because I didn't have much time, but maybe we're gonna get it back at some point. Maybe in 3 years when they repeat the event. Hell yeah.
Or
Okay,
this
I
month
think I said
when they
it.
repeat the event. Like they're
Oh
gonna
shit,
repeat the
really?
event
I still
in
have
February.
exams. Fuck.
Yeah.
I'm done in March. Fuck. Okay. Anyway, I think I talked enough.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll let you
fun
go though,
being on
Panda.
here.
Yeah, it was fun to talk to you,
Perfect,
man.
perfect.
It's been a while. It's since Age of Empires that we haven't spoken.
Oh yeah. And before that, I think the only time I was on ATC was on that when Ninetales Lockdown or something that thing came out, and I got really pissed at it. But
And it still sucks.
Okay.
Awesome.
yeah, nothing changed. Okay,
Nothing changed.
See ya,
All right,
man.
Panda, be
Bye-bye.
good, buddy. Talk to you soon. All right, and then Shende is our next caller. What's up, Shende? How you doing?
Hello. I'm
Hello.
really good. How are you?
I'm well. So we've been talking a while on the subject, but I hope you have some other things to add, and if not, we can reiterate on some things as well. But yeah, what are your feelings about the topic, and I guess maybe some of the polarizing things that I've been saying.
I think it's a really good topic. I come from a game developer background, and my problem with the gameplay in Star Citizen is they're nearly there, but it's like they don't take the next logical step.
Yeah.
So we keep getting close to it. For example, I think we can agree that Star Citizen wants to go the route of role progression, basically. That's the way they do reputation, and they do items and ships and all that. But they don't really implement it into the game world itself.
Mhm.
For example, if you are a medic right now, you can go heal people, but what is the progression in that? And to me, I also wrote this in a couple of weeks ago in the chat. Why don't they use the what is called the refining system for medical gameplay, that you can go out and collect things that then you can put into a refinery, medic refinery, whatever it's going to get called, and then it produce medic items for you. They use existing systems, but they don't do anything like that. They just like have it in closures, so they don't connect the system to each other.
But again, to get back on the topic of what we're saying is the fact that certain gameplay doesn't exist is not necessarily the problem. The fact that you don't know what the next logical progression is what I think is the problem. Because I think it would be a lot easier to be a Star Citizen backer of any type if you kind of knew the state of the current experience and what the plan was for the next step or the next couple steps, and then a very broad, grand vision of what mining would be and how it would integrate into the game's economy and how it would integrate with orgs, let's say. And then let's go into your medical thing. What would the progression of medical be aside from a single-seater medical ship, this medical ship, and then the Apollo, and then the Hope Endeavor, right? That's the only progression that we really know, and it would be very interesting to see what they would do with what's the next logical step here. What is your plan to do next? And I don't think they ever have that. I think they go, this is the tier 0, and then they let it sit for a while, and then they come back and go, well, actually, I don't think they come back and go because they've never done it before. So we don't know what they do. And I think you make a really good point is they just don't do the next logical step, but they also don't share what the next logical step is. They only share what they could do, but what they could do is like they share like all these different directions that they could go in, and they don't necessarily go, yeah, this is the direction that we're going to go with medical after this.
Yeah, and that's what
Sometimes
worries
they do.
me the most.
They were very
Because-
good with that with the cargo refactor. Like, to give them props and credit, the cargo refactor, they told us the logical steps and the game development steps that they will be taking to get to what the cargo refactor will be. Your personal hangars, That's where cargo will be. You will load your own ships. They did a very good job with that specifically. So give them props where they deserve it, but in other areas they're lacking in that communication.
Yeah, and I saw some people discuss that it's also because they want to keep it kind of hidden because of Squadron 42 is gonna use the same systems. But to me, you cannot design systems that work in a single player game to the multiplayer game exactly the same.
Yeah, and the systems in Squadron 42, to me, don't matter. It's the story. And as long as you don't share the story, then you're probably okay. Yeah, but I don't know.
And one thing I also want to get out of the way is I saw people saying Star Citizen is an experience. What does that even mean? Like, because every
oh
game
my
is
god,
an experience.
dude,
It
I'm
depends
losing
on the
my
people.
mind. I'm losing my mind with those comments, because we all know that. Like that. Yes, every time you do something, it's an experience. Like, what does that comment is so? It's so silly, and again, they're just using it as a shield to allow, for whatever reason, defend the idea that nobody has to do anything, and this can just be whatever. Like, it's just so silly to me.
It's the same when I think about the Sandbox argument. You might say Star Citizen is supposed to be more Sandbox-like, but I see way more things in common with Ashes of Creation and Star Citizen than people might do. For example, I don't know, did you see Ashes of Creation had the open dungeons? You could easily have that in Star Citizen. Like, it's basically bunker missions just for the endgame where you can collect things and maybe meet a mech or something later. It's not that different.
I mean, we essentially have it, right? One of the bunker missions has like a boss in it. It's very much like an MMO style thing that they did, and it's cool. Yeah, like it's more along the lines of just communicating a little bit.
Yeah, but do you think they even have a giant plan from the system, like a system model? Because
No.
you have elements in the game right now, and they have systems, but how does these systems interact with each other? I don't even think that when they talk about, oh, you want crafting, yes, but how is that gonna work with mining and medical and engineering and all that?
I mean, how
We have
about
no
this,
idea.
dude? When 2014, let's say 2015, like they were super adamant about not having crafting, and then out of nowhere, there's a proof of life video with Sandy and Chris, and they're talking about having Valheim level crafting. Where the hell did that come from? That was something I always wanted. I'm super happy to hear about it, but that's what tells you that, like, obviously they're changing their minds as they go, and I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's just communicating that. I mean, if you try something or you have an idea and you realize it's not going to work, it's way better to change that idea than to stick with your guns and just make a bad game that's not going to be fun. I didn't think Star Citizen would be any fun if there wasn't some level of crafting. I'm glad they finally came around on that. But that was the only time we were ever communicated that change.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's
Like,
a weird thing to do.
they don't even like make iterations in the alpha environment. They go out, produce something, and then they stick a lot to it, and then they don't really change it much. They don't say, okay, let's scrap it. It doesn't work. Let's try something new. All that is done internally.
Hover
and we
mode
don't
was
even-
one of those things where they did do that, but in general, yeah, you're right. And like, let's look at something like the inventory, the looting, and all these things. They're bug fixing it, but they're not iterating on it to make it better. They're only fixing the bugs at the moment, at least. Hey, Shende, I drank an entire jar of water, so I really got to pee. So can you give me like 30 seconds? I'll be right back.
Yeah, that's fine.
And for the YouTube video, I'll edit it so there's a cut here. Where are we? Hour and 23
cool.
minutes? All right. Be right back. But yeah, so I don't know, like that's just where I'm at. And I think you do make a really good point, is it's hard to because they don't really, they put something in, they say they're going to take our feedback on it and improve it, and then they never really do as well. So
Yeah.
it's also hard to see the vision and what the gameplay is if they just put in the systems really broken. And I mentioned mining before. That's one of the only systems where they put it in, took feedback, tried to add to it, and in reality, they, in my opinion, they took away from it more than they added it. Solo mining, quite cool. Everybody can do it. Everybody can mine everything essentially. But then by doing that, they actually gave no purpose to the mole and gave almost no purpose to multi-crew mining. So, yeah.
You know what all this comes down to, and that's something that fixed the last couple of months with Turbulent, is level designers make context to gameplay, right? So without any levels, gameplay doesn't matter. And it's like they didn't have enough of these for Star Citizen, they only had it for Squadron 42. So you have all this lying around, and you have nowhere to put the gameplay, do the gameplay. And it's first now they actually ramp up with gameplay.
Yeah, it's true. And I think, like, as basic and as not exciting the derelicts are, you can see you can actually see the vision. You can see the potential. You could see where it could be better. And that's why that is better than anything they've done in recent times, in my opinion. I think. I mean, same with somewhat with looting, medical, and inventory, but not as much.
Yeah. But I think that's why they've gone away from all that procedural generation, because they know that's not interesting gameplay in the end. Like, you have massive planets, that's pretty cool, but what are you going to do on them, right? You need these designers to go down and say, this is the experience we want to tell and give it to you. And then it might be eccentric or eccentric rewards. Who cares, as long as they're...
Yeah, it's true. All right, so yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I need, in year 10, I need a little bit better communication. We need a little bit a more clear understanding of what we're going to do. I mean, this is just one of things, like, as being a content creator, how the hell do you tell somebody to buy this game if you don't even know what it is?
I have no idea.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where you go, a person asks you, should I buy this game? I don't know, like, if you could, with most games, you can be like, oh, did you like Witcher? Then you would like Cyberpunk or something, like, I don't know, but there's no, like, what do you do? What do you do other than, like, what every other Star Citizen content creator does, is just build up their ego by making the referral code numbers go up and making a new player guide, tell them to use that. Like, that's really the only time people tell people to, like, buy the game. Is that way. It's kind of hard to describe the game to people.
Well, it's easier to sell a product if you know the target audience, but they don't really design for a specific target audience. That is, we want to be everything, basically, right?
Yes.
So what are they designing for? I bought the game before the Hangar module even came out, and I followed it constantly, but I maybe only played it maybe 20 hours in total, something like that. And every time I come in, I say, okay, I really want to do FPS because I'm an FPS player. But what's the point? It lags, and there's no reward, right? And I'm the kind of person who likes eccentric rewards. I want something in return for my efforts. And they failed with that with the items as well. It's so easy to make multiple items, but they don't do it. So I don't understand the idea behind it. They might say, oh, we have a new system come online, and we want to create item based on crafting, all that. Why not just tell us, instead of we have to think about what's going to happen the next 2 years?
Yeah, it's just silly. I think because they're tired of being held to what they said and it being called promises. So here's a whole nother thing, and part of the problem, like, we're talking about them, and I didn't want to make it a CIG bashing session, and no matter what it's going to be, because, again, they don't communicate, so what the hell are we going to do? But one of the reasons why they don't communicate is because of our reactions to things. And this isn't only me. I get a lot of shit for being the way that I am, but I'm not the only person who makes memes about Star Citizen's development or laughs about how ridiculous all this stuff is. I'm one of many people that do. I just happen to have an audience on Twitch, and I get more shit for it because I guess more people hear me say the things. But in general, the issue here is that when they communicate something, it is immediately called a promise by us. And we hold them to that. It has to be this way. And if you didn't, you lied. Chris lied to us. And if you really go back and listen to a lot of the things that they've said in the past, like, long time, is they always kind of leave the door open for change. And that's okay. Right? And that's and the difference is the the game's pretty big. They don't communicate all the changes all the time. I think that's their intention of the roadmap. It doesn't do that very well. We do kind of get what their what they're working on now, but it's also not, again, communicated very well. So it's just, yeah. It's just one of those things where the community is at fault here too, and have made CIG react in a way because of how we've reacted to change in the past.
I think that's always a problem with the roadmap. The problem I think with the roadmap is they also say, "Oh, this will likely come out in the next quarter," and then they pull it out. Like I would, the release view I think is a bad idea because people take it, "Oh, this is gonna come next month or in 2 months or whatever." I don't even agree with the release view at all because it doesn't
I don't agree with the release
the
view in the way they do it. Like it's dumb as hell to be like, 1 year from now you're going to have this, when we all know that there's no way you can plan for that. It's likely
it's
that
also for
interpretation.
Change.
Yeah.
Because you see something and say, "Oh, this is a cargo refactor," for example. I still have no idea what that entices. But people speculate what is going to happen.
No, there's almost no speculation on the cargo refactor actually, because they've done. The problem is another way they communicate is in 15 different ways. So they have community videos, they have posts on Spectrum, they have the roadmap, they have other posts that are just not generally on the website. They did a pretty clear talk about what the cargo refactor would entail. So
okay, then the channels are not properly, I guess. Then it's my fault maybe. Because I usually go to the roadmap and then
No, on that specific thing, the channels are crossed, but that's just the one specific thing. There's countless other examples where you are right, and the thing that you're thinking about was not communicated, right? So
yeah, I guess so.
All right, Chende, it sounds like you're kind of done, but I don't know if you have anything else you want to add.
No, it's fine. I think a lot of the other people also said a lot, so that's fine.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah,
Sorry, I had to take a little bathroom break in the middle there.
It's okay.
Later, bro.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Our final caller for today is Apollo Linos. Apollo, can you hear me?
Hey, Salty, how are we doing today, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Yep, I can.
Okay, you're listening to me through the stream, and you're not listening to me through Discord. You need to mute the stream. We can't talk on a 10-second delay. That's not going to work.
A 10-second delay? Am I good now?
You should be good now. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, the first thing I want to tell you is that you always say that people need to participate to answer their call, but I'm a bit nervous now.
Why?
I don't know. It's because probably a lot of people are listening to me. That's why. Yeah.
Just it's you and I having a conversation. They don't matter. Definitely just close the chat. Don't look at them. They're
okay.
They're dumb anyway. So if you have chat open, close it. If you're nervous, that's the best thing you could do. And then it's just you and me talking about Star Citizen. They're not there.
Okay, got it. Okay, I have written some ideas here that I have, but if it's a bit out of topic, just tell me and I will stop even saying about it. It's all is relative to gameplay.
Okay.
It's I loved. I'm watching you since you started.
Yep.
I loved when you were happy with Jumptown.
Yeah.
Like I had you on my second screen, and I was doing whatever I was doing. I saw you happy, and I was happy. So I think the only gameplay loop that they can give us, and we can be happy, is by, at this moment at least, is by doing events. I think it's the only way they can make us happy now.
I think they're realizing that too, as they immediately come back with more events as soon as Jumptown ended. So I think you and them are very much on the same page, and I agree. But I also don't think it necessarily needs to be events. I think what is successful about the events is bringing people together in any way necessary. Like, you could call them events, but in general, if you just bring people from the Star Citizen community together, it's either going to be really fun and people are going to be wholesome and have a good time, or it might end up being a complete dumpster and there's A2s dropping bombs all over the place. But no matter what, you don't know what the experience will be, and that's kind of what makes it fun.
True, true. What my skepticism is that we don't have gameplay now, meaning that we don't have something to drive us to do stuff. Because what I believe is that they have entangled the gameplay with economy, and since economy is not still in our system,
Yep.
it's a big missing part.
Huge. Persistence too. Just general things not disappearing is another huge reason why these things don't exist. But in general, so I'll try and see if we can get you on topic a little bit more, because you are, but you're not 100%. Is the question isn't what is the gameplay, why it's not here. It's more of the why don't we know what it will be more clearly when things like the economy exist. And what does the game look like when the economy exists a little bit more? It's really cool to see Tony Z's demo, but it's also not very, like, I had a specific question. How would the process of a normal player going to one of those nodes and selling the thing to it, how is that process going to work? How do I interact with the economy? There hasn't been too much discussion about that, just in general, what these little green and red and blue dots do, right?
Yeah, true, true. What I'm afraid though, and it's the thing that I was afraid since I'm a backer since 2014,
Okay.
and what scares me is Chris Roberts. I won't say how he thinks CS, our universe must be. Like he has a vision. His vision, of course, changes of the technology that we have and how the game can run. Meaning that I think that he has thought of stuff, but cause of the milestones that like server messing and all that stuff are not implemented, he cannot do what he wants. And that's why they don't tell us what they want.
Because, yeah, and I think that's makes sense as well, because they may not know what they're capable of yet until they have a little bit more of the backbone to... They don't know how many people they can get into one area yet, I don't think. And they're not clear about that. So then how do you communicate what the game is? I mean, I think you're playing devil's advocate really well here, even though this may be your opinion. I don't think you're necessarily doing it just to do it. That could be a totally valid reason why. But I'm more speaking about... I guess I'm speaking pretty broadly about what the gameplay would be, but then also more acute about certain things like when we talked about medical gameplay earlier. But yeah, I think that's making some sense.
Yeah, the thing is that I think that they don't even know if server missing will do what they think that it will do.
No, but apparently some guy, dude, they've been going nonstop in my chat about some dude on Reddit who said it's not going to do anything. Okay, sure, I'm just going to believe some random guy on Reddit, or I'll just wait and see what happens, like everybody else is going to do. So, yeah, I think you're right, is they won't know until... And that's true with everything. You don't know how things will work until you try. And they're at the moment in the process of trying. And now we'll see what happens. You know?
Yeah. And I believe that, because I saw someone in the chat saying that the events is just a time filler. But as we backed this game for many years, we need some time filling though.
Yeah, and I thought I told you to close the chat.
No,
but yeah,
I agree.
There's no way. Okay, I went to Jumptown. I played a lot of Jumptown, and I could tell you, I never saw the same name twice. When I play on a normal day, I always see the same names. So, no matter what anybody says in the chat, there is no doubt that event was successful, bringing people back into the game, giving them a reason to play. That is successful. whether or not it was something that you, the individual, found interesting, fun, or good, doesn't matter. It brought more concurrent players into the game, checking the game back out, probably having fun in their own way, and that's it. There's no denying that that's successful. And if that's the direction of the gameplay going forward momentarily, that's what I've been kind of screaming about, is like, hey, just find new ways to bring us together. And if that's, as long as you communicate that that's what you're doing to us, I have no issue with anything. It's like, hey, we're going to do the next event, and it's going to be very much like the last one with a little variation to make it unique and different, you know? GG, I'm happy with that.
Yeah,
I'll make a thank you CIG thread on Reddit if that's what they do. You know, so
you even that they can do some little stuff, some small stuff that can help us. Like even the PvPers, like they can make them hold outposts, like the missions that we are going there down to clear from pirates. They can make pirate, PCs, not NPCs, go down there, keep the outpost, hold it. As much as they hold it, they can take X amount of AUC per hour. And then, though, the company that has that outpost can send missions to the bounty hunters to go and kill them.
I mean, we're imagining here, but like, if we're imagining, why not make it even more advantageous? What's the most annoying thing as a PvPer? It's getting a crime stat, probably, right? And people always knowing where you are. What if you had the ability at these outposts, like you take a security post. If you had ownership of the security post, you don't have to hack the computer. You just have access to it. And then you don't have to go through the whole process, and you could just remove you and your friends' crime ratings or something, right? Like just little things like that would give it value. And then that would be going into like Panda's idea is reasons for fighting over an area for certain orgs, right? Ownership of that would matter. Maybe. I mean, that's just a silly idea from me, but at the same time,
Yeah, I'm 90%. I'm a miner / trucker. So the only loop I have is I go mine Continuum, I bring it back, refine it, and then go sell it.
Yep.
I wish they're gonna put a reason for me, like for example, to sell it to a specific station because they need Quantanium, they need fuel or whatever. That will make me more happy. But yeah.
How about the biggest problem with it is you only mine Quantanium because there's no reason to mine anything else. Because if you're going to go out and mine, the process is exactly the same, essentially exactly the same for every ore you mine. It's no different. It feels exactly the same, besides the little timer for the Quantanium, which gives you plenty of time to deliver it to the facility. And then you just mine that because that's what brings in the most money. It comes down to, well, guys, we're going to tie this into the economy. Okay, well, talk to me more about that. How are you going to do it? And what is the next logical step for mining going forward when you do? When the economy comes in, how are you going to update mining to tie into that? Those kind of things.
Yeah, that was my
That's
thought.
That's the topic of today's show.
Yeah.
Is communicating that.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that they're going to do it like EVE Online, is like supply and demand. Is if in one system there's a war effort and they need like to fix missiles and produce missiles, and they need X material, is like that material will skyrocket the price.
Sure. And as far as we know, you don't even have to believe that. That is something they've communicated. I mean, anybody who's watching, just look up, I think it was in 2014 or 2015, Star Citizen Economy video. That, I mean, you explained it basically to a T. I'm pretty sure they even used missiles as an example in the system. So, as far as we know, that is still how it will work. I'd like to know a little bit more on how we interact with that, because I would assume in EVE it's the guilds or whatever, or I don't know what they're called in EVE, but the big companies, they're the ones who are creating the resources and using them, where in this it's the NPCs that are creating the resources and using them. Corporations, thank you. Yeah, so.
Yep, I think that was what I have to say for my notes, I see.
Okay. Well, did anything else come to mind before we let you go, or?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you for popping in, Paulinos. You didn't seem nervous at all.
No, I will definitely come a second time, but now it's a first time. It's always a first time. It's a bit hard.
Yeah, it is weird, but in reality, you're still just like sitting in your computer and you're just on Discord with a random person. It's not
true.
It doesn't really mean anything. So yeah, no big deal. But all right, Apollo, we'll let you go.
Have a good day, man. Have a good day.
All right, bye now. All right, so that'll do it for another Answer the Call. Interesting topic. I think I'm trying not to be like the guy like, oh, I need this gameplay now. I think that's the thing that I really want to communicate to everybody is I don't expect the systems to just appear out of nowhere, right? I do fully understand the game is an alpha. I also understand that it's a live service. And I do think at the 10th year of development, it should be a little bit more clear of we should have a little bit more clear expectations of what Star Citizen is, what we may be able to do, how we're going to interact with the game world a little bit more. And I think that's like kind of one of the major issues with the game is that there's very little communication on those things. And I think it was, I don't remember who it was. It may have been Panda about the next logical step. I think it was Shende actually, is the next logical step is never communicated. And because I don't think that Star Citizen is entirely an alpha, and I feel that it's a live service, the next logical step for mining, for cargo hauling, for medical, for looting, for FPS, for ship combat, I think that needs to be a real part of the way they communicate in 2022 and beyond. Is all of these things are in the game, and the expectation from the player base is for those things to gradually improve. Slowly, sure, but gradually improve. And I don't think a lot of the player base has an understanding of what improvements are intended to be made, how you gathered our feedback, and what you're going to do with it. That is the thing that is great about Star Citizen. And I don't think CIG is doing a great job of showing what is so great about about how this project can be. I put something, or I don't. CIG puts something in the game. I communicate my feedback to that. They either like it or they don't. They hear it from not just me, from everybody, and they go, you know what? That SaltEMike guy, nah, he's wrong. But that Shende guy, I like what he had to say. I think that that's a really good idea. Let's prototype it. All right, community, we got some feedback. We're going to prototype some things. We'll get back to you. They prototype them. All right, this is our next iteration of whatever system we think we're going to do. That's what communicating the gameplay to the players means to me. And at the moment, from the dev side and the communication side, I feel like it's an alpha argument is just way too much in their favor, and they're using it as a crutch, as well as like some white knights in the community. And it's a live service side of the community is maybe a little bit too loud on expectations of it being a fully complete and finished game. And again, this is something I've been communicating a lot over the last months or so, is that we kind of need to meet a little bit in the middle more. And the expectations of, things aren't going to work perfectly, but that feedback looping around a few times is probably what is the most important thing going forward for the next few years to really improve the game. Is put a system in the game, take our feedback, let us know what you thought about it, how you're going to improve it, and actually action that feedback, and then continue that loop again. There's only so many developers at the company. I get that part. New features have to come in as well. But then communicate that. The team that was working on that feedback loop is moving to this. They're going to come back to it. Simple, right? So those kind of things are what I'd like to see. But who knows? So I'm just tired of hearing it's an alpha, so make sure you comment down below, it's an alpha, all right? And so I know you got to the end of the video if you're watching on YouTube. On Twitch, feel free to spam my alpha emote because it's really fucking stupid looking. So yeah, and yeah, as always, guys, if you're watching on Twitch, this podcast will be on YouTube later today. If you're watching on YouTube, you can partake in Answer the Call any Sunday that I'm not really sick and unable to do. And you can participate in it by coming to twitch.tv/SaltEMike Sunday mornings, Eastern time. So today right now it's 10:13. This is normally when we would start the show, and we're actually ending it because we just started on the topic and we kept going. And it was like, we have to make this into an ATC, and we have to do it now while the people are passionate about the subject. So I just did it impromptu very early in the morning. And yeah, I guess it'll be on YouTube, and yeah, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and make sure you follow the Twitch channel if you're just here watching and want to hear more Weeks in Review. ! YouTube in chat as well to find the YouTube channel. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow for Answer the Call, or for Week in Review, and I'll see you next week for Answer the Call. Thank you so much.